comments, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyAccess.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. Heat fans, time for the best insight of your favorite team with insider Ira Winderman, exclusively on the Big O Radio Show. It's the Acura of Pembroke Pines, Miami Heat and NBA report. Here's Ira Winderman.
We're ready to go. We're ready to rock and roll. How are you doing, Ira? Good morning.
Good morning. Another day of the waiting and the watching, and it's incredible. We're going into basically our second month since Damian Lillard issued his trade request. He's getting, I don't want to say a little more surly, but he's noting a few more things about what aren't happening here. And the Blazers are just sort of sitting on the pot there and just waiting to see if something's going to happen, and nothing has happened for them otherwise, and no other team has stepped forward. And as I noted in my Ask Ira this morning at the Sun Sentinel, it's not like another team has said, hey, here's our opening. I don't know what the end game is here for Portland.
Well, I just think it's just a waiting game at this point, because they can wait all they want for like some team to pop up. It's not going to happen. The law's been kind of laid out already. He wants to play here. Everybody else knows it. So nobody else is wasting their time trying to go about this. So we just got to get to the point where we get closer to camp. So it's really all about late September.
Yeah.
Really?
It's not only that, but I thought Mark Spears had a really good point in the interview he did, ESPN's Mark Spears, where he said, no team wants to be the team that takes a guy who's had this great career and force him to be where he doesn't want to be. So if another team steps in, whether it's the Knicks or the Celtics or another team, all they're doing is they're saying, hey, we're actually disrespecting your wishes by forcing you onto our roster. Now, there's some egotistical general managers and owners who go, oh, once he gets here, it'll all be settled. And then layered on top of this now is the news about Giannis Antetokounmpo that came out last week with his interview with the New York Times saying, hey, I'm not wed to the Bucks for life. I'm not going to be one of these guys. If my team is not on a championship course, I'm going to stay here. So all of a sudden, the Heat have, matter of fact, I wanted to ask you about this, so I'm glad we waited to our accurate Pembroke Pines report. Big O, you know that the bird in hand is still better to have than maybe the wishing game. If you're the Heat and you think you can get Giannis Antetokounmpo as soon as next summer, do you pull back on Lillard on the what if, or do you take the sure thing now? Because if you trade your first-round picks, if you trade Tyler Hero, your trade war chest basically will be emptied. So I think that's where it gets a little bit interesting.
My problem is I don't know where Jimmy Butler is going to be a year from now.
Perfect.
And so I need to stay in the now mode.
In the moment.
And what happens if Milwaukee makes – dude, they traded 5 first-rounders for that point guard.
For Drew Holiday.
It's not like they're not maniacs and they won't go out and do whatever they need to put people around Giannis. And then Giannis is a pretty, loyal guy. So if you make an effort, there's a good chance he stays. And then you lost out on Lillard. You got a team that can challenge for a title with Damian Lillard.
Yes.
I am taking that ride with Damian Lillard and Jimmy Butler because Jimmy has so much mileage on that body. I know he's ready for next year, and you have to stay in the moment. And you and I talked about this 2 weeks ago when we were talking about Jovic and the new kid, the UCLA kid.
Jaime Jaquez Jr.
Remember how we agreed that, if you want to part with somebody, I said, no, go with Jovic to trade him. Give me Jaquez because he's older and he's more prepared to help you right now mentally than Jovic is. And that's because I'm living in the moment now. And I think with Jimmy and this Damian Lillard move, I just think you're pretty good. You're good enough to challenge for a title. I stay in the now and I make the move for Lillard.
Yeah,
because
I think
the Bucks. I just don't know.
I think that's a great point with Jimmy. You can't keep siphoning off these Jimmy years and go, let's wait. He's going to turn 34 before the season starts. He proved in last season's playoff run he's good to go. And what I like so much about Damian Lillard in this moment is this. Jimmy Butler's not playing more than 60 regular season games. He don't give a rat's ass about all NBA and qualifying for the awards in games played. He's getting ready for the playoffs.
Right.
But if you have as you've spoken about all the time, that number 2 with him, that second alpha with him, Lillard plays those games. And instead of doing the play-in thing as a number 7 seed, you're the home team in the playoffs. You have less travel. You have less wear on Jimmy Butler. You have better matchups in the first round. You're not pushing as much. Yeah, when you're coming off, and you have a chance coming off the finals to get a Damian Lillard, you do it. I almost can't stand all this, well, down the road will be better. Well, just be patient. This guy will come around. You have to live in the moment when it's your go time. And I think, Big O, you would agree, for the Miami Heat, go time is now.
Yeah, dude, listen, it's almost like you've ruined the last 4 years because you didn't find Robin or Batman to Jimmy. And that was kind of, I said, and this is not even hindsight. I said the Jimmy trade will not matter if you don't get the other star next to him. And so far you have failed to get the other star. And Bam is not the star. I'll say it over and over again. He's not a star. So you need to go get a star. A star wants to be in the middle of the spotlight. A star wants the game on his shoulders, like what you see with Messi every damn night that he takes the pitch.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what stars do. Jimmy wants the weight of the world on his shoulders, but he is human, so he can't carry the weight of the world every stinking night. You got to go find a Damian Lillard. That's the kind of dog you need. You've needed for 4 years. Don't waste any time. Go out and get him if you can. But you and I know, because I'm going to get it on my end on social media and on the show, and you're going to get it too on your end. This Antetokounmpo stuff now for the next year is also going to heat up too.
Oh, absolutely.
Heat fans want everybody.
They do.
It doesn't matter who becomes available.
And you know what? The Heat did make the move to get this second star with Jimmy Butler in 2021. Now, it didn't work out with Kyle Lowry, but let's be honest, Big O. In the moment, you had a guy who was 2 years removed from a championship, who was playing at an all-star level. Look, they made the effort.
You know, I hated that deal. He was never, dude, he was never a number one. That's why they had to go get a dog, because the two guys, him and DeRozan, weren't really lead dogs. They're kind of complimentary guys. And at the point that they got him, I never ever thought of him as a Batman.
They made the effort, but they have been making the effort trying to get someone next to Jimmy. We know when they try to hold off for the Bam extension for Giannis, they waited also. If they don't get Dame Lillard for some reason, of course they'll be in the whole Giannis thing. Again, Giannis reminds me of LeBron James in 2014. He looked around the Heat roster and he said, Dwayne's getting old. Ray Allen is an older player. This is an old roster. I can go with Kyrie and Kevin Love and go somewhere else. You know what? Right. The Bucks this offseason re-upped with Brook Lopez, re-upped with Chris Middleton. Those players are only getting older. So you can see Giannis saying, hey, I need to move on to something fresh. Maybe something fresh with Bam. Maybe something fresh with Tyler. Maybe something fresh with young players. So you can see that also, and I don't begrudge him for that. So it's just interesting for this reason. If you give that package of picks, even 2 first-round picks, and Tyler Hero to the Blazers, Tyler Hero, Milwaukee native, hey, you can do worse than trying to sell tickets with a local kid. You were out of the Giannis game for next summer. But I agree, you've got to live in the moment because there have been too many misses. There have been too many Kevin Durant ×3, Donovan Mitchell exactly at this time last year. They didn't give the extension to Tyler because they thought they were getting Donovan Mitchell. So at some point you have to say to yourself, you live in the moment. No offense, but at Pat's age, at Eric's amount of time, Spoelstra coaching, they want to live in the moment right now. So yes, the Giannis thing is intriguing. And him and Bam alongside, you can make it work with Jimmy, certainly, and other players. That's a maybe. I still think the Damian Lillard is a probably. And I think you have to go with the probable cause first to get what you need right now.
I think the Damian Lillard thing's going to happen. I just think it's a matter of getting closer to training camp, and then they don't want that whole mess of him arriving there. By the way, on the Giannis side,
sure,
I think what triggered Giannis to react the way he just reacted here is what happened at the end of the year. That their early exit, he took all the heat, and he looked around and said, well, shit, dude, I got to always carry the load, and there's like really no other real star next to me to take the load off. Because if you really think about it, he's the only other guy that's kind of in that Butler situation. You know, we could say that his number 2 is better than anybody's Miami's number 2, but even their number 2 is really not it's not a legitimate number 2. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
Drew Holiday is not an all NBA first team. He's just an all-star. He's a very nice player, like Bam.
Right. Not a number 2, like what we're used to. Like we're real stars. When we see, Timmy and Zoe, and we see Wade and LeBron and Bosh and Shaq,
Yeah.
Those are stars, dude. Those are stars. And I think that experience this year, and he said, well, wait a minute, dude, if I'm going to take all the heat, well, then you guys need to take the heat too. Like, go get another star. Show me that you guys are committed, because I've carried this entire franchise, and I look around and everybody pairs a star with another star and another star. And I never see another star park his ass here. Now, he never said that, publicly like that, but I think that's kind of what he's saying to them about commitment. Like, yo, bro, where's my Robin? You know what I mean? And I don't blame him for that, because it's almost unfair at times when we put the weight of the world on one person. We kind of did it to Allen Iverson. You know what I mean? Like, he never really was paired. What, Eric Snow, a worn out Dikembe Mutombo? I mean, give me a break, dude, So it's interesting. I wonder if that's what triggered it this offseason.
No, going out in the first round obviously meant something. And again, what's interesting is he did sign off on Adrian Griffin as the new coach, but he's a neophyte coach. So basically, I think what Giannis is saying is, let me see if this guy is the guy. Now, there have been plenty of guys who come out of nowhere, Eric Spoelstra, one of them, who have proven to be as good as anyone. But there have been plenty of flash in the pans also. So I think what he's saying is, hey, you're on the clock, Adrian Griffin. You're on the clock, Brooke Lopez and Chris Middleton, with the new contracts you got, to see if this pairing works. I can go anywhere I want. I can take care of this in free agency. I could put the screws to the Bucks. One Bucks owner is already out. They have a different ownership group coming in. This reminds me of LeBron James taking his one-year contracts in Cleveland and telling them every single year, you will get me more or I will leave. You know what? The power belongs to the players. This isn't the NFL where you play 22. This is the NBA where you play 5. He knows he has the power. And for the first time, Giannis Antetokounmpo is flexing his muscles in the personnel game, as he has every right to do and has earned.
All right, let's get to the serious stories now. Will Lonzo Ball sue his dad for bad shoes?
That's just a shame that he's missing an entire other season. He's saying he's coming back now, and just the way his whole career has played out. Look, LaMelo's played well, so it can't just be the shoes right there. But his injury problems and what happened to him, hey, might just be happenstance. But you talk someone who seemingly had it all. We've seen LaMelo and how good he is, so we know that they are good players.
He's the real deal.
Yeah, and I think Lonzo couldn't have been without the injuries. You know what? I've seen this before. You see one brother healthy, one brother not healthy. It happens in sports. It's a shame, but to miss another season.
Better than the other, by the way. That's all. I mean, Lonzo was never much of a shooter, and so, give me a break. But you look at the other kid, he can score. It's a little bit more of a mission for Lonzo, and fragility is something that's normal in sports. Everybody's body's not the same, man.
But if you're talking about mismanaged from the start, hey, look where they are. Look at LaMelo getting stuck with the Hornets. Look at Lonzo on his third team already, Lakers and New Orleans. So obviously you need this stability at the start. There are so few examples in sports. Obviously, Richard Williams is one of them with Serena and Venus. But of parents take seizing control. Come on, Big O. You've seen this story play out so many times. If only they had the right prep. Look, we're all proud of our kids. We want to do right by them. But some things are best left to others. And you see situations like this all the time.
The good thing for the girls was once the Williams girls grew up, there was the rocket detached from the
yes, they moved on to their own coaches, and we've seen it, even if they were getting signals and coach from the sideline. Yeah,
they grew up and they moved on as women and professionals and all that kind of stuff. And Richard kind of knew his place, and he kind of stepped aside. And by the way, he kind of not just stepped aside, he completely disappeared. to his credit. You know what I'm saying? Because at the beginning, we were all, we're all thinking, is this guy too controlling, this, that, or whatever? And maybe the ball dad went obviously too far, but the whole Williams thing worked out perfectly, man. There was a perfect detachment and time when they grew up. So I give them credit. They were able to do it. All right. So you're still thinking if this happens, I think for sure it's going to happen.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell happened last year on September 3rd. So we're approaching Labor Day weekend. It would be the same timing as Donovan Mitchell. And again, I've seen a couple of things. One I addressed in my Ask Ira today at sunsentinel.com. This notion of telling Damian Lillard, don't show up to camp. We're going to just wait and see what happens. No, you can offer the opportunity for a player not to show up. But under the collective bargaining agreement, you can't tell him he can't show up. Damian Lillard wants to play. Damian Lillard is coming off the best offensive year of his career. Best scoring average, best shooting percentage of his career. He wants to be out there. He's not going to give the Blazers the option of the John Wall in Houston of I'll stay away until you make a deal. So hands are going to get forced. And all they would be doing in Portland is screwing Shaedon Sharpe and Anthony Simons. And of course, their first round pick this year, Scoot Henderson, if they bring Damian Lillard into camp. So you know what? You might think the clock is ticking on the Heat, but more than really it's ticking on the Portland Trail Blazers because they're the ones who need to get this done. They don't have a plan B.
All right. What do you got going on the Sun Sentinel so folks can check you out?
I just worded today on my Ask Ira the whole Giannis thing, and it does get juicy, but even before I came on with the Acura Pembroke Pines report, I agreed with Big O. You have to get the bird in hand taken care of right now. Make this your championship run season. You were 3 wins from a title last year. You can't sit around and wait. Yes, I know what Heat Nation's going to say. If Giannis moves on to the Knicks or another team in a year or two, they could have had him. You know what? There's been too many could-haves. There's been too many Durants. There's been too many Mitchells. You take what you have. Very rarely in sports do you get the confluence of it's the perfect fit for your team and the player wants to be there. When you get those moments, Big O, you seize those moments.
Hell yeah. And plus, you need shooting. You need scoring. So he is a perfect fit for what they need right now. So you definitely got to make the move. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeats. More importantly, subscribe to the Sun Sentinel, folks, like I and many others do. Ira, have a fantastic week. We will catch up next week, sir. Thank you.
Either next week in our Acura Pembroke Pines report or this week when they get Damian Lillard. We'll see. Thanks, Big O.
You got it.
You've been listening to the Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA report with Ira Winderman. When you're looking for award-winning service and great deals from the #1 volume Acura sales dealership in the Southeast United States, you go to Craig's in Acura of Pembroke Pines at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.